Rob Manfred took over as commissioner of Major League Baseball in 2015, and since then a lot has happened, and this has given people extremely strong opinions on Rob.
Really upset about Rob Manfred and his ridiculous rule changes that he keeps proposing. All the people that own media companies that own baseball teams are the ones that voted you in as commissioner in the first place, so you're protecting them. So in that case, you should probably know something about media.
Manfred has endured everything: attendance declining, a worldwide pandemic, a World Series winning scandal, and many rule changes. But how has he done now that he's well into his 9th season as commissioner and we have plenty of data to check out? Let's go over the 5 biggest controversies and decisions that Manfred has made, and grade how he handled these situations. And of course, this is my opinion. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking before doing research. I'm going to dig deep into his scandals and see exactly how he handled each one of them before I can say he sucks as decide if I think he sucks or not. The 5 things we are going to be looking at are the Astros cheating scandal, the 2020 pandemic season, the 2021 to 2022 lockout, the Oakland A's relocation, and of course, the rule changes and how that has affected viewership and baseball as a whole. These 5 situations are perfect indicators to see how Manfred has handled these stressful situations, and if he handled them fairly or terribly. I'm pretty sure he handled most of these like an actual moron. However, let's give good old Robbie the benefit of the doubt here. And if you hate Rob Manfred and don't even want to give him the benefit of the doubt, then just subscribe to the channel, because 97% of my regular viewers are not subscribed. I'm sorry, I'm done promoting. The oldest of the 5 scandals today is the Astros cheating scandal. My god, that was already 7 years ago. What the hell, how is that possible? Now that I feel like an ancient fossil, let's look back at how he handled the situation. And spoiler, it wasn't great. The Astros stole signs in the 2017 regular season and potentially the 2017 postseason on their way to their franchise's first World Series ring. Sign stealing in general is a legal action. However, they did it with the use of a center field camera and relayed the signs to the hitter by hitting a trash can to signal what pitch was coming. Like I said, this led to them beating the Dodgers in the 2017 World Series, and it made those Dodgers players upset.
I thought the apologies were whatever. I thought Jim Crane's was weak. I thought Manfred's punishment was weak. Everyone knows they stole the ring from us. You know, it's over. They apologized. They went together and apologized.
You know, some of those guys seemed remorseful. Some of those guys said the right things, gave a good apology, and that's great. I'll move on with that. And then you get the owner up there saying some dumb stuff, and it's like, what? You know, it's like, what's going on? You know, it's just, how can you be that ignorant to the situation? So
I have some brief remarks that I'd like to share with y'all. I'm really sorry.
We cannot change the actions of the past, but we are fully committed and moving forward in the right way.
With the entire league pissed off at the Houston Astros, including fans and players, what did Manfred do to punish those cheating Stros? Well, he fined the owner $5 million, stripped the Astros of 4 draft picks, and obviously made them forfeit their World Series banner. Well, not exactly. He didn't take away the World Series banner, but he did say that the World Series trophy was just a piece of metal, so that's awesome. These athletes worked their entire lives to be in a position to win that trophy, and the commissioner of baseball, who hands it out, basically just said that it was worthless. That's about all you need to hear to know how bad he handled this. Along with that, AJ Hinch, the manager of the Astros, and Alex Cora, who was the manager of the Boston Red Sox at the time, were both fired from their respective teams because of the cheating scandal. Cora ended up as the Red Sox manager 1 year later once again. However, he was punished for losing that 1 year's salary. So what about the players that admitted to using the trash cans? Nothing. Not a single fine or suspension for all of the players, which only pissed off everyone else even more. For all of that, I have absolutely no choice but to give Manfred a massive F for how he handled this first situation. Let's hope it gets better for Robbie going forward, because that was not a good look. However, this was his first time trying to handle a major issue like this. Hopefully he handles the next one more effectively. 2020. The year where not just sports stopped, but the entire world was completely shut down because of a disease that made its way across the world. I don't think I'm allowed to say that word on YouTube still, so I'm just gonna call it the cough. Not to discredit the disease, it's just because YouTube doesn't like it. The cough season ended up being just a 60-game season that started on July 23rd due to the lockdown. The postseason was required to play with no fans in the stands and all at neutral sites that were allowed by the real government because the pandemic was still bad at the time. The Toronto Blue Jays were also forced to play their home games in their AAA stadium in Buffalo. And if you got the virus, you were required to be sidelined for at least 7 days, but sometimes longer. All of this actually just sucks. However, you can't really blame any of it on Manfred. They worked hard to make a season happen when it looked like there was never going to be one. The way the testing was handled was good. The way the virus IL was handled was good. The Blue Jays situation was unavoidable. Canada literally just said no. Like, the entire country just didn't allow it. Manfred doesn't have that much power. With that being said, I don't think the solution was perfect. The neutral site postseason games were a pretty massive L in my opinion, and I don't really think it helped that much in terms of stopping the spread. Maybe it's because the sites were somewhat in the center of the two teams, so they didn't have to travel as far. However, once you're on the plane, it's already too late to fix it regardless. This also led to the expanded postseason, which was modified in 2020 and is now something personally I love, and I think most people do as well. That was the one good thing that came from this season. The World Series still feels extremely fraudulent. I'm sorry, Dodger fans, it just does. However, that postseason gave us some awesome moments. Manfred and MLB tried their best to turn an extremely dark time into something slightly less dark. Because of that, I'm willing to give them an A for how they handled the virus. But it was pretty damn good considering how terrible things were looking in the world. Manfred gets a big win for how he handled this situation. Next on the list of MLB being a big, stupid, money-greedy organization that does just about nothing right ever, we have the 2021 lockouts, and my god was this a dark time in baseball history. The 2021 lockouts lasted from the end of 2021 to early 2022 and lasted 3 months total, and they were the worst thing I have personally ever seen in baseball. It stopped all free agency action, cut into spring training, and at one point even had games taken off the schedule and turned into a 156-game season. That was later reversed as the MLB Players Association and owners finally agreed on a new CBA, which is basically just the contract that MLB needs to follow to keep all parties happy. This was basically just one massive political debate, and man was it miserable. Every time something good happened and both sides were getting closer, something would hit the fan and they would basically just be back at square one. Neither side ever compromised and both sides just wanted more money. Manfred sided with the owners the entire time because that's kind of his job. However, since I think the owners were completely in the wrong for about 90% of these lockouts, I also think Manfred was in the wrong for not having his players' backs. Without the players, there is no MLB, so if they had decided to sit out, MLB would have lost billions and billions of dollars in revenue, which is exactly what they were fighting for in the first place. The whole lockout was just stupid. It led to an injury increase because of a shortened spring and basically no access to teams' medical personnel, which is just another way these idiotic billionaire owners shot themselves in the foot over a $150K increase in league minimum salary. Again, Manfred was essentially just a figurehead in this whole drama, which basically means he just said what the owners wanted him to say. However, what he said sucked and continued dragging out the lockouts that should have ended so much sooner. Add in the extra unnecessary injuries, and you have a massive F for how the situation was handled by Manfred. Not only did everyone involved lose money, he also tried to scare the MLBPA over and over until finally they started to give in. He threatened to cut the players' salaries if it didn't get done, he threatened to cancel games, but he threatened basically nothing towards the greedy owners. Either way, people are probably going to disagree with me here, but he literally contributed to the MLB not existing for 3 whole months in the middle of the offseason. If you cancel your league for 3 months, you get an F. It's as simple as that. Please never do that godforsaken lockout ever again. I'm begging you. So far, it's not looking great for Manfred. it seems extremely hit or miss with more misses. However, let's see if we can get back to too good and too bad with the Oakland Athletics relocation, which has been going on since early 2023 and has continued into early 2024. Unfortunately, it has been going terribly so far. Not all of this is his fault, however. A lot of this is because of Athletics' pathetic owner, John Fisher, who shouldn't be allowed to manage a mini gerbil, let alone an entire multi-billion-dollar franchise. Where I think Manfred went wrong was not stepping in before it had gotten to this point. The Oakland Coliseum is the worst ballpark in baseball due to how run down it is, with essentially zero renovations being done over the past couple of years. For those of you that do not know, the Oakland Coliseum used to be shared with the Oakland Raiders, which was an NFL team. However, a few years ago, they were relocated to Las Vegas due to the lack of renovation from Oakland. The second that happened, Manfred should have stepped up and made sure that the Coliseum was fixed up as an exclusively baseball stadium. However, that never happened, and a couple of years later, we are now seeing another Oakland team being relocated to Las Vegas. Even worse, there are going to be multiple seasons before the Athletics' new stadium is built in Vegas, and during those years, the San Francisco Giants AAA team will be out of a stadium, and I believe they have to play in the Oakland Coliseum. This is because the Oakland Athletics are playing in the Giants AAA field because it's like the most suitable for fans, I guess. I don't know, it's dumb. It's just ridiculous that the Giants then also have to be punished due to the fact that Fisher couldn't manage his team correctly. I'm getting away from Manfred a little bit, but I'm gonna give him a C- just because I don't really know how much he's able to control this situation. The Oakland relocation as a whole for MLB is getting like a Q- because it's extremely sad. I feel for you Oakland fans, but I just don't know how much Manfred could have done. Fisher and the city of Oakland are the two parties that are really at fault here, but I don't know. I just think Manfred could have somehow stepped in my opinion. The final category is the biggest and debatably the most important out of any of them so far, and that's his rule changes and how they have affected the game and the fan perception of the game. There is the sticky stuff ban, the 3-pitcher minimum rule, expanded postseasons, bigger bases, step-offs, banning shifts, and of course, the most controversial, the pitch clock. I'm going to start off by talking about the facts, based off the rising and falling of MLB viewership, because realistically, that's the best way to judge if the rule changes have worked. As you can see, since Manfred took over in 2015, there was a consistent decline in viewership until 2020, where there was no attendance whatsoever. Since then, there has been a slight yearly increase, and in 2023, there was a pretty big jump in viewership and attendance even for pre-pandemic numbers. In 2024, the MLB is on pace to have significantly more attendance than any other season since 2017 on a rate basis. And if we're being honest, a lot of this is due to the pitch clock. Whether you love that change or hate it, it's making MLB more money, so it isn't going anywhere. Now, unfortunately, since Manfred has taken over, the World Series TV ratings are also incredibly low, with last season being the worst ever. Part of that was because of the World Series being 2 lower market teams, which is cool for hardcore baseball fans, but makes the non-hardcore baseball fans not really care. With the actual stats out of the way, it's time for me to give my own opinion on these rule changes. And I think they're pretty great for the most part. Full-time DH, including NL, was a good change. Pitch clock was a good change, unless in a few years there is actual evidence that the pitch clock is adding to pitching injuries. However, I think it's much more likely that the rise of sweepers and spin is significantly more impactful than the pitch clock. Pitchers throwing every 18 seconds instead of 22 seconds isn't going to do much. It just isn't. Now, throwing 101 compared to throwing 94 is going to do something. I think that is way more impactful than the pitch clock. Expanded postseasons is also an incredible change in my opinion, adding 2 extra postseason teams each season and doing away with the 1-game wild card, which I personally hated. The bigger bases and limited step-offs has led to more stolen bases, and stolen bases are fun for baseball, so I like it. Banning shifts and the 3-pitcher minimum rule I'm on the fence about because it takes some of the strategy away from the game. However, I think it's a pretty good change for the most part because because it leads to more offense, which leads to more viewership and excitement. Finally, the sticky stuff ban, which personally I think was handled poorly because of the fact it was thrown on the pitchers in the middle of the season. That was unfair on the pitchers and probably did contribute to injuries to pitchers like Tyler Glasnow. And even if they were technically cheating for years, it's really the MLB's fault for allowing it to get this bad. Personally, I'm a huge fan of how Manfred has handled these changes, apart from the timing of the sticky stuff ban. People aren't gonna like this, but I'm going to give Manfred a B+ and really close to an A-. With that being said, I really don't think that Manfred is as bad of a commissioner as people think. I gave him 2 bad grades, 2 good grades, and 1 mid grade, which makes Manfred an extremely mid commissioner. He still has 5 more years on his contract before it's time to step down, so let's see how he handles the rest of his tenure. However, I think things are slowly looking up for our friend Robbie as he continues to develop into a real leadership role. Let's hope he stops sounding drunk whenever he has to publicly speak and continues getting better.
Corey, you thrilled our fans throughout the postseason